been wearing this shirt daily, like a uniform without a spare uniform. So yeah, it's got a really deep thing, so I just push it back a lot. It's kind of hot. Yeah, I have a view of the road, and there are lots of people who are not abiding by the lockdown rules. I've seen a lot of people, traveling in groups. I mean, there are motorcycle pools, and car pools, and even rangers. Like, they travel in packs. They're like 4 rangers in one jeep, or the back of one jeep or truck, or there's a word for it. That's not jeep or truck. The thing with the open back, it's the covered front.
And how the bleep did Santa get here? Use your head!
Anyway, so there are rangers traveling in packs, there are other people traveling in packs, it's weird to see people with masks on but no helmet when they're riding motorcycles or cycles or bicycles, or it's weird to see, but it's very common. Yeah. Yeah, like 2 people just, so there was a man and his child on a motorbike, and they were not wearing helmets, but they were wearing masks. So that's, yeah, so right, so people are traveling in packs, and I need washing powder, and I haven't gone to get washing powder, and yeah.
The electricity bill is bigger than Salman Khan's biceps. Did you leave the carburetor on all night, eh? Yeah, I have a Capricorn ascendant, and we're supposed to reverse age. And I don't know, I think I sound more childlike now.
When I was 12 in 8th grade, my mother sent me to get my sister from Lyceum, where she was doing her A-levels. Like, she was in A-level 2nd year. And, well, she was in a lab or something, and so I went. Girl in my class who was dating a college freshman, and I was just like, that's so gross, he's so old. And I was like, now I'm thinking, yeah, he's probably like 3 years older than her, not that much of an age difference. But yeah, back then I was like super freaked out, I remember.
Smiling and posing. Yeah, so this is called a smear. Like the lipstick, it's called a smear. You just slick it on.
नाम क्या तुम्हारा? हिना. क्या नाम है? हिना नाम है. हिना और प्रीति. प्रीति जिंटा. Wow.
She seemed happy and comfortable talking to him with his hand on her shoulder, but I don't know why, it just really bothered me. It just made me cringe inside. It was like, I got really uncomfortable just looking at this, even though I look at it, I look at the recording, there's nothing wrong with it. She's actually comfortable talking to him with his hand on her shoulder. So here, Preeti looks a bit nervous, yeah, Hina's having a ball of a time, but Preeti looks a bit nervous, her face. He's a nice guy. I guess I transferred my own nervousness to her somehow. I know you sexualize me like all men do, but I think I like you. Daddy issues. You were lost and gone forever. Don't feel sorry. To my oh, don't go tell anybody. No, not our first supposed crime.
So it's almost Maghrib, and
when Mary Lennox was sent to Misselthwaite Manor to live with her uncle, everybody said that she was the most disagreeable-looking child ever seen. It was true, too. She had a little thin face and a little thin body, thin light hair and a sour expression. Her hair was yellow, and her face was yellow because she had been born in India and had always been ill in one way or another. That was a bit from Francis Hodgson Burnett's The Secret Garden, which was first copyrighted in 1911. Skipping ahead to when Mary is very upset that her Aya is missing, and another attendant was at her bed, and then she's gone into the garden and she's yelling, "Suar, suar, suar ki bachi," because to call a native a pig is the worst insult of all. She was grinding her teeth and saying this over and over again when she heard her mother come out on the veranda with someone. She was with a fair young man, and they stood talking together in low, strange voices. Mary knew the fair young man, who looked just like a boy. He had heard that he was a very young officer who had just come from England. The child stared at him, but she stared most at her mother. She always did this when she had a chance to see her, because the Mame Sab, Mary used to call her that oftener than anything else, was such a tall, slim, pretty person and wore such lovely clothes. Her hair was like curly silk, and she had a delicate little nose which seemed to be disdaining things, and she had large, laughing eyes. All her clothes were thin and floating, and Mary said they were full of lace. They looked fuller of lace than ever before. But her eyes were not laughing at all. They were large and scared and lifted imploringly to the fair boy officer's face. "Is it so very bad? Oh, is it?" Mary heard her say. "Awfully," the young man answered in a trembling voice. "Awfully, Mrs. Lennox. You ought to have gone to the hills 2 weeks ago." The Mame Sab wrung her hands. "Oh, I know I ought," she cried. "I only stayed to go to that silly dinner party. What a fool I was." At that very moment, such a loud sound of wailing broke out from the servants' quarters that she clutched the young man's arm, and Mary stood shivering from head to foot. The wailing grew louder and louder. "What is it? What is it?" Mrs. Lennox gasped.
Chaotic, and I mean chaotic and not quixotic. My sister would call quixotic chaotic because it's like Don Quixote, and I'm just like, no, the word is quixotic. Yeah, sorry, but yes, it is derived from Don Quixote. Yeah.
A little glimpse of mutilated teeth. You
And I'm
ought
here
to know
to remind you
it's not fair. After that, appalling things happened, and the mysteriousness of the morning was explained to Mary. The cholera had broken out, and in its most fatal form, and people were dying like flies. The Ayah had been taken ill in the night, and it was because she had died that the servants had wailed in the huts. Before the next day, 3 other servants were dead, and others had run away in terror. There was panic on every side, and dying people in all the bungalows. When she awakened, she lay and stared at the wall. The house was perfectly still. She had never known it to be this silent before. She heard neither voices nor footsteps, and wondered if everybody had got well of the cholera and all the trouble was over. She wondered also who would take care of her now that her Aya was dead. There would be a new Aya, and perhaps she would know some new stories. Mary had been tired of the old ones. She did not cry because her nurse died. She was not an affectionate child and never cared much for anyone. "She has actually been forgotten." "Why was I forgotten?" Mary said, stamping her foot. "Why does nobody come?" "Poor little kid," he said. "There is nobody left to come." It was in this way that Mary found out that she had neither father nor mother left. They had died and been carried away in the night.
Went back to the car, and then Mommy's like, "No, go get your sister, and don't come back until and unless you've got her." So I went back outside, as in inside, inside the Lyceum lot, outside the building, but inside the gates. And I was just waiting, and then she finally turns up, and she starts yelling at me because, oh, than I did when I was younger. It's weird. But yes, I think, yeah, I think my voice is reverse aging. So, well, you know, somebody told her that a hot grammarian तुम्हें तलाश कर रही है, तुम्हें ढूंढ रही है, तुम्हारे लिए आई है, or something like that. And it's like, so I knew that it was like a female thing. So it wasn't just hot grammarian, it was hot female grammarian. And I found it really offensive because as a 12-year-old, I thought these people were really, really old. I've gotten less ageist I was really offended when in 10th grade there was this girl in my class who was dating